Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Eric with SweetSpotDFS, going over a DFS preview for the 2025 Masters Tournament. Now, I'm going to be upfront and transparent with you guys. This is a compilation of all of the videos I've already posted on YouTube this week, minus the DraftKings First Look. I'm going to keep that a standalone video. I went player by player and gave you my thoughts on each golfer at their price points. If you haven't checked it out, go watch the video. I think it's very informative and it's a good video. In this preview, you're going to get the course and tournament information. You're going to get the pass optimal and GPP winning lineups. And you're also going to get the bucket system, which are all key pieces to the SweetSpot process throughout the week that'll help us target the players we want to put in our lineups. Because at this channel, it's all about targeting the optimal lineup. We're trying to be perfect. And in order to do that, we have to do our deep analysis for each of those segments. So if you have seen the other videos throughout the week, that's fine. You can use this as a refresher, or I shouldn't say or you can use this for another entry into the giveaway that I'm doing this week, the Masters giveaway. It's a win the pot giveaway worth $20, but for every one new subscriber that I get on this channel this week, I add $2 to it. So it starts at 20. I add 2 for each subscriber, and we've had 8 new subscribers so far this week. I captured the beginning subscriber count. It's 806. That's what we started the week at. We are at 814. So we add $16 to the pot, and we're already at $36. So if you want a chance to win $36 or maybe more, depending on how many more subscribers we can get, comment on each of the videos that I have posted this week. Each of those videos gives you 1 entry into this giveaway. So this will be number 5. This is the 5th video of the week. There might be another one before I go live tomorrow, Tuesday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're talking about Tuesday, April 8th, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. So you can maybe get up to 6 entries into this giveaway, but you can certainly get 5 just for all the videos I've posted. And also you can get additional entries by sharing them on your social media platforms. Now, I do all the legwork for you on X. I'll post this video. All you got to do is retweet it and boom, you get an entry into it. But if you have a different social media platform you use, just copy the link, or I think YouTube provides a quick access to the link on one of the buttons that's down here below. Copy it, put it into your social media platform, post it out there for everyone to see. Let me know you did it, because I'm only active on x.com, formerly known as Twitter. So I'm not going to see it any other way. You're going to have to let me know. But that can get you an additional entry into this giveaway. So you could have up to 10 so far, maybe 12 by the time I run the giveaway at 7 p.m. just by commenting and reposting each of the videos on the social media platforms. So it's up to you guys if you want more entries. And I wanted to remind you that this giveaway is happening in this little intro. Also, if you haven't created an account on SweetSpotDFS.com, go do it. There's a link for the website down in the description of this one. Go sign up. It's free. You don't have to put any money into it. No credit card, nothing, unless you want to pay, obviously. There are tools that are behind a paywall, but for the most part, just signing up at SweetSpotDFS.com just automatically gets you an entry into this giveaway. And once we reach 1,000 subscribers, I will run the giveaway, which is worth $1,000. 2 $100 cash giveaways, 1 $200 annual membership, and 1 $600 lifetime membership. So all of this is available to you just by participating on the channel. Now, let's get back to the preview. Augusta National Golf Club needs no introduction. Everybody and their grandma knows this golf course. But maybe some things you don't know. In this golf course and tournament information segment, I'm just going to cover some of the things that you might not be hearing around the industry. A lot of things you are already going to know. And I'm going to talk a little bit about course fit for a lot of these golfers. I'm going to touch up on the lefty narrative, and let's deep dive that, because I know there's a lot of people out there that think that's very important here. But I'm going to start here with the golf course stats. You can find this at SweetSpotDFS.com, and basically just gives you all of the general information you're going to want to know. Obviously has the golf course and like the name of the golf course. We have the yardage, 7,500 yards, par 72, your architects, Alistair McKenzie and Bobby Jones. If I had filters set up on my website currently where you could actually research golfers who do well with these architects in mind, I'd be able to provide it for you. But for the time being, I'm just giving you the information you guys can use to research on whatever other sites or other tools you might be using. Now, the turf grass that you see over here in the little middle section, ignore that because there's overseed. And you can see there's a little Y next to the overseed grass. That means there is a completely different type of grass than what the base layer is. During the summer or the spring, summer, and fall months of this golf course, this not being one of them, or this not being in those seasons, in one of those seasons, we have overseed. It's ryegrass. Ryegrass all over the place except for the bent grass greens, and they're the purest bent grass greens you can use. Use that for your research. Bent grass, bent grass, bent grass. And if you do have access to, the fairways being ryegrass or the rough being ryegrass, use those at your disposal. I think that's perfect. You can see the turf grass length here, the off the tee shot shapes, and the approach shot shapes. So you're not going to find that anywhere else in the industry. Now, why should you trust me? Well, I map every hole, and you can see that down here in the segments here. So holes 1 through 18, you can see the pars, the yardages, and what shot shape is preferred. It's not necessary. I'm not trying to make a proclamation or a declarative that you need to be hitting these shot shapes no matter what. I think it's well known that hitting a draw, or at least the old school thought process is hitting a draw at this golf course, is beneficial. That is true around some of the dog legs that go left, but a lot of what you see on the screen and what you see on the website is just preferred shot shapes for the hardest pin locations or the hardest to access pin locations. Plus off the tee, it's pretty self-explanatory. Like hole 13, for instance, the old school tees, which were 30 yards farther forward than where they are now. Now they quote unquote tiger proofed it. I don't know if you guys saw the Pat Mayo interview with Mike Kim, but Michael Kim kind of just said, yeah, you don't really need to hit a draw around that corner anymore because it's so long off the tee that you just find yourself at the apex of that dog leg just by hitting a straight ball. Still, if you hit it far enough, you're going to still want to hit a draw around the corner. So it's just a preferred shot shape. That's it. Just a preferred shot shape. It isn't necessary. This is one of those golf courses that requires all the shots in the book. All the shots are here that you need to hit. They'll talk about the undulation, not only on the greens, but on the golf course. It's a very hilly golf course. You're going to have, these golfers are going to have some really odd lies, and it's going to require all the knowledge possible. Outside of that, it's just what fits the eye. Now, let's touch up on the lefty narrative. So what I have heard other PGA Tour pros talk about, a lot of the legends like the Phil Mickelsons, even like the Tiger Woods, all those guys, what they talk about, why a draw, a quote unquote draw, a right to left shot shape. So for lefties, it'd be a fade. Why does that matter at this golf course? Well, not just talking about that right to left shot shape, but just why do lefties have success, or why is it perceived that lefties have success? Phil Mickelson has touched up on this. It's because there's those dog legs. And so if there's a dog leg to the left, I know my mirror or my camera is mirrored, so it's going to look different on your guys' side. But if the dog leg is left and I'm a lefty, I can see that. I'm looking down the target. I can see where my location is. Even if the location's like way over there, my chest is facing that location. I can see it. It's easy. I'm more comfortable because I can see where I need to hit the ball. Whereas if I was a draw, now this is where it's going to look weird on your end. If I'm a draw hitter and I'm a right-handed golfer and I'm trying to hit a draw to a target that's that way, my back is to the target. So there's already a sense of kind of uncomfortability because I to look at my target, I have to not only, move my head from here, it has to go further than 90 degrees. It's going to pull my shoulders. Not that that matters in a golf swing, but it's just unnerving to some extent. That's what you hear some of the PGA Tour players have said in the past. That's where I think the left-handed narrative makes sense. But when it comes to like shot shapes and stuff like that, or just golf, like just being a good golfer, it kind of falls flat. And I actually have this spreadsheeted. If you follow this channel, I have spreadsheeted everything all the way up until this year. It's when I finally implemented everything into the website. And I'm just going to use this piece of my spreadsheets just to give kind of an overall lens. And I'm going to zoom in even more than this so you guys can see. I just want to look at the top 10 leaderboard. Just go golfer by golfer, top 10 leaderboard, and determine who's a left-handed golfer, who's not. We all know who the left-handed golfers are. So let's try to put this to rest, that left-handed golfers are good at this golf course. Scheffler, Oberg, Fleetwood, Homa, Morikawa, Cam Smith, Bryson, Xander, Will Zalatoris, Tyrrell Hatton, Cam Young. They are all right-handed golfers inside your top 10, but we can go further than that. Reed, Pavon, Shank, Davis, Straka, Kirk, Benny Ann, Nikolai Højgaard. I'll go a little further. Taylor Moore and Lucas Glover, all right-handed golfers. There's not a single left-handed golfer inside the top 20. If I were to scroll down, our first one we see is Akshay Bhatia, and I've indicated the left-handed golfers with an L right next to their name. Phil Mickelson, 43rd place. Mike Weir, which obviously we don't anticipate him doing well at this golf course. He's 50 plus years old. And then Brian Harman. Those are your 4 golfers from last year's field that are left-handed golfers. Well, let's take 2023 for an example. Rahm, there we go. There's Phil. There's your left-handed golfer, Phil. Brooks, Spieth, Reed, Henley, Cam Young, once again, Victor Hovland, Thigala, Fitzpatrick, Scheffler, Schauffele, Morikawa, Woodland, Cantlay, Hoagie, Sungjae, Neiman, Lowry, Rose, Sam Bennett, Hideki Matsuyama are all right-handed golfers. So I'm going to actually deselect Phil so you can see one golfer in the past 2 years inside the top 20, and this guy's name is Phil Mickelson, finished inside the top 20. Let's move on. Let's go even further. Scheffler, Morikawa, Lowry, Smith, McIlroy was the second. I don't know why I said, maybe I didn't. I don't know. Morikawa, Zalatoris, Connors, Justin Thomas, Sungjae Im, Cam Champ, Charles Schwartzel, Dustin Johnson, Willett, Na, Fitzpatrick, Minwoo, Higgs, Westwood, Gooch, Matsuyama, Fleetwood, Kokrak. They're all right-handed golfers. That's 3 top 20s, 1 lefty in there. And I forgot to look at 2023 and 2022, but we can scroll down. All right, so Bobby Mack finished 23rd in 2023. That's 1 lefty. Scrolling down. And you guys in the chat, if you see a lefty that I missed, go ahead and point it out. There's Bubba Watson, who finished 39th in 2022. Kind of scanning everything, just double checking I didn't miss a left-handed golfer. There's Mike Weir with another missed cut. Brian Harman with another missed cut. And Weir once again. And Brian Harman once again. Garrick Higgo, left-handed golfer, missed the cut. And then there's Bubba, who missed the cut. Oh, I actually missed him in 2024. Missed the cut. Okay. So far, that is not trending whatsoever. I mean, we get like a handful of lefties every single year. And we went over 3 years, no lefty except for Phil inside the top 20. 2021, Matsuyama, Zalatoris, Spieth, Schauffele, Rahm, Leishman, Rose, Reed, Connors, Smith, Finau, Webb Simpson, Stuart Sink, Kevin Na, Siwoo. Ooh, Bobby Mack. Okay, I missed that one. Brian Harman. There we go. I missed that one too. Hatton, Morikawa, Scheffler. Those are your guys inside the top 20. I'm going to keep these highlighted. Just know that McIntyre and Harman are lefties. Okay, they finished 12th place. So now we're up to 3 golfers. 4 top 20s, or 4 leaderboards of top 20 golfers. We have a total of 3 now. So we're tracking really well. And if we scroll down, we see Bubba's there, 26th. Phil, where's Phil? Did Phil miss a couple of these years? I know he missed one Masters because I think his daughter was graduating. I didn't think he missed two. I must be missing him somewhere. Oh, here he is. Never mind. Yeah, I think he missed 2022, but they're 21st. That's pretty good. Just outside the top 20. Okay. Going to 2020. This is the fall version of the Masters. DJ, Cam Smith, Sungjae, JT, McIlroy, Fratelli, CT Pan, Koepka, Rahm, Simpson, Connors, Reed, Leishman, Matsuyama, Na, Abraham Ancer, Schauffele, Cantlay, Scheffler, Cameron Champ, Fleetwood, Sebastian Munoz, all right-handed golfers. Where was our first lefty? Mike Weir, 51st place. Wow. Phil and Bubba down here, 55th and 57th. Some of these golfers I also just don't know off the top of my head, like Yuxin Lin. I have no idea what handedness he is. Also, like someone like Lucas Michelle or Mitchell. Don't know there. James Segru. I have no idea. No idea. Oh, Sandy Lyle, by the way, is a lefty, but he's also like 60, almost 70 years old. So I'm not going to actually include him. 2019, the one that Tiger won. Right-handed. It doesn't matter. DJ, Schauffele, Koepka, Day, Simpson, Finau, Molinari, Rahm, Cantlay, Fowler, Bubba Watson. He's your lefty. JT, Justin Harding, he's a right-handed golfer. Kuchar, Poulter, Wise, Kazire, and now Phil Mickelson. And then Adam Scott. So we get two more golfers. Outside of Bubba Watson and Phil Mickelson, McIntyre and Harmon are the only other lefties to finish inside the top 20. So now when we talk about are lefties good at this golf course, are we just not sure it's just not Bubba Watson and Phil Mickelson are good at this golf course when they were not past their prime? I mean, I think Phil probably still has a decent chance to be good because veterans tend to do well at this golf course years after, they qualify for the Champions Tour, basically. Because that's where, Freddie Couples is. That's where Vijay Singh, Bernard Langer, like they kind of always play this tournament well, even into their 50s and into their 60s. But let's move to 2018. Reed, Fowler, Spieth, Rahm, McIlroy, Smith, Stenson. We have Bubba Watson here, a lefty. Leishman, Finau, Johnson, Charlie Hoffman, Oosthuizen, Rose, Casey, Henley, Fleetwood, Thomas, Matsuyama, Day, Molinari, Simpson, Jimmy Walker. They're all right-handed golfers. Sergio, Rose, Schwartzel, Kuchar, Thomas Peters, Paul Casey, Kevin Chappell, McIlroy, Ryan Moore, Adam Scott, Fowler, Henley, Koepka, Matsuyama, Spieth, Keimer, Stricker, Ferd Couples, Pat Perez, Jimmy Walker, Lee Westwood. All right-handed golfers. Willett, Spieth, Westwood, Casey, JB Holmes, DJ, Fitzpatrick, Yeltsin, Matsuyama, Berger, Day, McIlroy, Rose, Snedeker, Effie Barnrat, Oosthuizen, Rafa Cabrera-Bello, Grillo, Horschel, and Danny Lee, all right-handed golfers. In fact, I'm just going to skip ahead and just show you. We have Bubba Watson and Phil Mickelson and all of these other top 20 tournaments. That's it. That is it. Phil and Bubba, Phil and Bubba, Phil and Bubba, Phil and Bubba. Those are your only left-handed golfers in the last notable years to be left-handed and to have played well at this tournament. So I guess a little bit of this video, at least the first 12 minutes or, the first 15 minutes of it, is dispelling the left-handed narrative. I don't think you need to rush to play a left-handed golfer. In fact, this year we have, I think the most popular golfer that's going to be played this year is going to be Akshay Bhatia. Akshay Bhatia at $8,100. He's going to be the most popular left-handed golfer that is used. I think maybe Phil will be second. And then you also have Robert McIntyre. He's also a left-handed golfer, which I'm trying to find his price tag. I forget it off the top of my head. I thought it was in the 8,000 range. Was it not? Well, I guess I can look it up this way. Robert. I don't have him in here, huh? Interesting. Oh, I'm looking at 2024. I am so sorry. I don't have, I have to go to the cheat sheet. There he is, $8,000. Coming in with some good form. So yeah, I guess Batia and Bobby Mack, I mean, Bobby Mack has finished inside the top 20 at this event before he had a 12th place finish, him and Harman, but Harman also has just not been playing super great at the Masters since his one solo 12th place or better finish. Now, if you're interested in these golfers, you can use the cheat sheet. This is the page I'm currently on. You just go to Fantasy Tools and go down to cheat sheet from SweetSpotDFS.com. I recommend coming down to this portion of the cheat sheet and clicking here. This will open up the Google spreadsheet. Now, for all those people that have already been here before, I actually added a new tab called the Masters. So I've loaded in the Masters information. I do not have their handedness, but I do have the shot shape next to their name. Now, this is just from my eyeballs and from my ears, what I hear of these golfers, what shot shape matters to them or what they're more comfortable hitting, what I've seen them hit the most. I've got videos on most of these golfers that I plan to put on the website just to show you what their preferred shot shape is. Yes, they're good enough to hit any shot shape they want, but when it comes to being in control, they would go to one shot shape over any other. So you get this on the cheat sheet. I encourage you guys to go check it out. There'll be a link for that in the description of this video. Actually, there'll be a link to the website. Go to the website and then find the drop down under Fantasy Tools called Cheat Sheet, and then that way you can access it there. So yes, you get shot shapes. I mean, we discussed, you know, the left-handed narrative. We discussed shot shapes. Again, you can go to SweetSpotDFS.com. Check out the golf course stats where you can see the golf course. You can see how I've mapped out the golf course and what shot shape is preferred. Not necessary, but what's preferred. And then just use the cheat sheet with all the shot shapes that I have in for these golfers to, I mean, if you have a tiebreaker between two golfers, maybe the shot shape matters. Or maybe you just want to see it to see how comfortable you are playing certain golfers. All there for you. I just don't have their handedness, so I can't tell you if they're right-handed or left-handed. I could, but I just don't have that information in here. And I think you probably all know, you know, what handed or what handedness these golfers are. So that is kind of, you know, talking about the golf course, talking about the shot shapes. Now, when it comes to the tournament, this is going to be pretty fast, pretty easy. We have 80 currently. Actually, we have way more than I thought. There are 96 golfers in this field currently. We are missing one golfer, and, well, maybe we're missing one golfer. The one golfer we might be missing is the winner of the Valero Texas Open, if it isn't someone who is already qualified for the Masters. So let's say if Ludwig Oberg wins that tournament, nobody from the Valero Texas Open, or the field won't change, is primarily what I'm getting at. And on the cheat sheet, if you actually scroll up and use this version of it, the P that's indicated under the -1 week, which is just last week, these are golfers that are playing in the Valero Texas Open that are already qualified for the Masters. So if any of these guys win, then the field stays at the 96 golfers that it's at. And your cut, by the way, is going to be top 50 in ties, and that's it. Top 50 in ties. There used to be all golfers within 10 shots, but they did away with that a few years ago. It's just going to be top 50 in ties. So that's what I have when it comes to the golf course and the tournament information. Actually, no. I got one last thing. I'm going to go back to my spreadsheet, and we're going to take a look at the strength of field. And you actually can do this on the cheat sheet. Maybe we use the cheat sheet instead. Okay, I'm on the cheat sheet. 819 is the strength of field this year. Now, I guess I have to go back to my spreadsheet. 819 is the strength of field. In 2024, your strength of field was 818, so identical. In 2023, it was 772. 2022, 783. 2021, I do not have it. So pretty much the same strength of field, which is, I mean, we kind of already knew all that because the best golfers are invited here. The top 50 in the OWGR are invited to the Masters, plus all of the previous Masters champions. So that's why you get a lot of these golfers like Bubba Watson, who quote unquote defected to live. He'll be he will be in the field. Same goes with Sergio. I think he's outside the top 50. I guess I have that information, right? We can take a look. Sergio's down here. Yeah, he's not even rated inside the top 300. I just record OWGR that's inside the top 300, and he's not rated, nor is Dustin Johnson. These are all just past Masters champions that are on the Live Tour who've just lost all their OWGR points, like Phil, Charles Schwartzel. I'm not going to go through everybody, but you get the hint. So it's a strong strength of field. And yes, a lot of these Live players lost their OWGR, but they're all being filled in with, oh, wow. I'm looking at Brooks. Brooks must have, he must still qualify through winning PGA Championship a couple years ago. Ooh, that's an interesting thing to look at. I wonder if Brooks will have a added motivation to try to win this event. Not that he needs anymore. He's a major championship killer. I wonder if he needs that additional motivation, because if he doesn't qualify for winning the major championships, and he can't qualify because he's not on the PGA Tour to win a PGA Tour event, I wonder how many more years of eligibility he has left. That is interesting. I didn't think about that. Anyways. All right, let's talk about pass optimal and GPP winning lineups for the Masters. Now, if you're new to the channel, welcome in. I like to go over this segment because it gives us a really good idea as to what salary builds tend to work. Not only for the GPP winning lineup, which most of the data I have on SweetSpotDFS.com is looking at the Millionaire Maker on DraftKings. If you're not familiar with that contest, the top prize, if you get first place in that contest, you get $1 million. So I've been keeping track of that contest for a very long time, keeping track of all the GPP winning lineups. But I don't just keep track of that lineup. I keep track of the optimal lineup, which is the perfect lineup, the absolute perfect lineup that keeps the salaries under $50,000. Obviously, if you use a different, I shouldn't say obviously, but if you use a different fantasy platform, your salary cap might be different. But on DraftKings, if I pull this up, you're going to see there's a $50,000 salary cap. So you can't spend more than $50,000, meaning you have a lot of choices you need to make when building lineups. Do you want to go really balanced with an 8K range, like all 8K golfers? Or do you want to do stars and scrubs, which a lot of times take 2 really high-priced guys and pair them up with 4 really low-priced guys, or maybe 3 high-priced guys with 3 low-priced guys? Or do you want to do more of a traditional lineup build like a 10-9-8, 7-7-6? For me, I like analyzing these things because, DraftKings aren't dummies. These fantasy platforms, they're not stupid. They are pricing out the golfers based off of how quality they are in an event, in a field. So your top priced guy is always going to be the best golfer in the field. So why aren't we doing more analysis on these salaries? DraftKings has been having these salaries out since at least 2018 for most events. I think for the Masters, it goes all the way back to 2015. Let me double check on that. Yeah, I got salaries in 2015. So it goes all the way back to 2015. For me, it's just helping everyone out, including myself, to build the best or the most proper lineups. And if we can analyze these stats, like normalization is one of those key words when it comes to data analysis. Why aren't we normalizing salary builds? what makes up the best lineups every single week? Well, I do that every single week at SweetSpotDFS on this YouTube channel. And that's what I'll continue to do. That's what I'm going to do in this video just for you guys. Now, I have two tools on SweetSpotDFS.com. One is called Historic Salary Builds, which if you find the fantasy tools, it'll go down under Past Salary Builds. And the other one is called Pass Optimal and GPP Winners. Pretty simple. And here you can analyze each lineup that consists of either the optimal lineup, the GPP winning lineup, or the SweetSpot Optimal. And if you're unsure what the SweetSpot Optimal is, it's usually a lineup that spends at least $49,600 of the salary, and it's just the best lineup that fits that criteria. I would say this, most of the time it beats the GPP winning lineup, unless the GPP winning lineup is the optimal lineup. That's the only time it doesn't beat it. But basically what I try to do every single year, or for every single event, is I record the optimal lineup, and then what was the next best lineup that used up $49,600 of the salary. That's kind of how I like to do it, to give you guys a little bit more variety when looking at salaries for salary builds. So again, you have these two tools. I like to start with past salary builds just to see what is the most common salary build. And the beauty of this tool is this little segment right above my head, the little summary, gives you the salary build, how frequent that salary build has happened in the past, and gives you a percentage. So if you're new to the channel, welcome. But what I preach every single week is to start out your lineups with a 10K golfer and above. So that's anything north of $10,000, a 9K, an 8K, two 7Ks, and a 6K. And it's no different for the Masters. In fact, this is the most common salary build among all three of the lineups I record. Again, those are GPP winning lineups, optimal lineups, and SweetSpot Optimal. Of all three of those lineup builds, that 10-9-8-7-7-6 is the most common build. So what I want you guys to understand or to take from this is maybe that's where we start our lineups with. Start them with a 10K golfer. And then this little segment right here, or the little summary boxes here, where you see 10K lineups, 9K lineups, 8K lineups, that just shows you the frequency. It looks at every single year, and it determines how frequent have we seen a 10K golfer, a 9K golfer, an 8K, 7K, 6K. And 6 high K is just anything that's north of $6,500, and anything lower than 64 and lower is this 6 LK or 6 low K. And it just gives you the frequency. It's meant to just show you or tell you how frequent does this happen every single year. It's not how many 10K golfers out of all 10K golfers were in the optimal GPP or SS optimal. It's just how frequently does it happen every year. And you can drill down into these lineups, by the way, to see even how much more frequent you can see this. So you have the GPP winning lineup, the optimal lineup, by the way. Every single year I've had an optimal lineup that I've recorded one. 90% of those lineups start with a 10K golfer. The most perfect lineup starts with a 10K golfer. And you can also see only 70% of those lineups had a 9K golfer in it. Then for SweetSpot Optimal, 100% of the lineups have had a 10K golfer. Again, the SweetSpot Optimal, the rules there, spend $49,600 or try to. Sometimes it doesn't work out, but most of the time, $49,600 is spent, and it beats a GPP winning lineup. Now, just to show you how that looks like, if we go to 2024, you take a look at the GPP winning lineup, it scored 507.5. The SweetSpot Optimal scored 514, and it used up $49,800 of the salary. You can see that on the screen, and you can also, again, go to SweetSpotDFS.com, create yourself an account. Unfortunately, these two tools are behind a paywall, but you can sign up for $4.99 a week, and you get the whole Masters tools, and then you'll also get next week's tools as well. Well, I shouldn't say that. Perhaps wait until Monday or Tuesday, and then you can start digging into the next week's data. And I guess it doesn't really matter. This is all historic data. So it's meant for you to research what past optimal and GPP winning lineups look like, not future ones, because I'm not I'm not Nostradamus, so I can't do that. Not saying that, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. So that's what I mean by SweetSpot Optimal and GPP winning lineup. So what you see for the SweetSpot Optimal, yeah, 100% of those lineups had 10K golfers in it, and the most common salary build is 1098,776. Now I created the SweetSpot Optimal to give you guys more of comfort in these types of builds. Give you guys some peace of mind when it comes to building lineups. What gives you the most confidence? Because again, you could be dead on arrival if you choose to start out with the wrong golfers or have an odd salary build that just doesn't make sense, especially if it doesn't show up. It doesn't even give you an opportunity to take down a GPP. Because again, here at SweetSpotDFS I keep saying SweetSpotDFS.com, but here at SweetSpotDFS, it's all about trying to hit the optimal lineup. We're trying to be perfect. We want to take down a GPP. And if not, we aim small, we miss small, we hit the GPP winner instead. So that's the whole goal, and that's what you get with these tools. So like I said, 100% of SweetSpot Optimals have a 10K golfer in them. 90% of optimal lineups have a 10K golfer in them. And nearly, 88% of GPP winners. Now, I haven't recorded every GPP winner for every year they've had salaries, so that's why the numbers might be a little bit different. But we have 8 golfers. I think that must mean we have 9 GPP lineups. And yeah, you can see that right here, right above my head. 9. So let's take a look for 10K golfers. I did go over a first look video. I don't know if you saw that already, but we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 golfers that are 10K and above. Now, here's the beautiful thing about SweetSpotDFS.com. Go to the Pass Optimal and GPP winning lineup, click under more filters. Oh, I'm sorry, not here. Let's go to the historic salary builds and go into more filters. So let's say we wanted to start our lineups with Scotty Scheffler at $12,400. Well, let's take a look at the most common lineup builds when we start with $12,400 and above. So use the max salary filter here, and I'm just going to go $12,000. And yeah, we'll keep it. We're going to expand this a little bit, but I'll keep it right here. So if you're going to start out with Scotty Scheffler, in 2024, I think that was a Scotty Scheffler lineup. Obviously, it must have been. He was $12,100. In 2016, the most expensive golfer was $12,300, but there was a 5K range, and that was the lowest priced golfer in that lineup. But when we look at the salary builds, well, one, again, we can go to 2024 and take a look at, well, let's take a look. What lineup was that? That was the GPP winning lineup. Okay, let's go to the GPP winning lineup. Had Scotty Scheffler in it. Then it dropped down to an $8,400 Morikawa, $8,200 Bryson. So it went 10,88776. And I'll be real with you guys. I've seen this multiple times. I have the Masters loaded up here, but we can look at multiple events. And I'm going to go into more filters. I kind of want to get rid of any Tour Championship tournaments. So let's go 12,000 to 13,600. I think we've never seen a salary for the Masters greater than 13,600, but I'm going to keep it right there. So now we can kind of get a little idea of what other salary builds look like, and we can take a look at the tournaments where those, actually, let's get rid of the GPP winning lineup. So we can take a look at what these lineups were, and we can dig down further into them. So for the 2025 Houston Open, Scotty Scheffler was 12,700 and was in the SweetSpot Optimal as well as the Optimal lineup. So that actually isn't a bad comparison, and that went 10,97766. But if we wanted to even drill down, okay, here's another thing you can do on SweetSpotDFS.com. Let's select all of the tournaments, but let's remove the Tour Championship, because the Tour Championship just has weird salaries. It doesn't quite work out well. And we can continue to filter out the tournaments we don't want to look at. So let's take a look. So we have the Open Championship, Travelers, US Open, Memorial. Okay, so this is exactly what we want to be looking at. I just want to get rid of the Tour Championship. And actually, I want to get rid of the Tournament of Champions also. Let's get rid of those. And so now when we think about building a lineup that has a golfer $12,000 or above, I have 7 records or 17% of all recorded lineups going 10-9, 2 7s and 2 6s, 10-8, 3 7s and 1 6, 10-9-8, 7 6 6, 10-8-8, 7 6 6. So you're going to have to get pretty comfortable in the 6K range if you are going to play Scottie Scheffler. I think that's kind of a no-brainer anyways, but kind of what this is showing you, be comfortable playing not just one 6K golfer, but 2 6K golfers if you so choose to build your lineups with Scottie Scheffler. Now, we can do this with every golfer in that 10K range. If you wanted to go with Rory McIlroy, what I would suggest you do is go to the salary builds here, put more filters in there, and let's put $12,000 as our max salary, and let's put, $11,000 as our minimum salary. And this is going to get our range that Rory lives within. And now we can see 10-9-8, 7-7-6 reigns supreme. There's 36 records of that. And then it goes down into that same one we saw with Scottie Scheffler with 10-8-8, 7-7-6, and then a 10-9-8, 7-6-6. Those are your 3 most common builds. And I guess we can include this one too, because there's 23 records of it. 10-9, 7-7-7-6. And I guess, again, we can go even further into this. And if we wanted to just be very specific with the Masters and just take a look at just the Masters, 10-9-8, 7-6-6 is the most common salary build if we were to start a lineup with Rory McIlroy. So again, this is just meant to provide some comfort or some ideas when it comes to lineup building for you guys. If you want to use these tools, SweetSpotDFS.com, go there. To use it, you're going to have to become a weekly member, a monthly, a yearly, or even a lifetime member. I am providing lifetime memberships at SweetSpotDFS.com. Go check out the homepage. You'll see all the information there. And then you can use this tool. You can use all of the tools that I have. They're all for the weekly, monthly, and yearly members. All right, let's put a bow on everything that we've learned. See, I think it's pretty obvious. We want a 10K golfer, whether that's Rory, whether that's Scottie, that's really up to you. Who do you want to play? And again, I know I've been harping on this the whole video, but if you truly want to do your own research, go to SweetSpotDFS.com. Check out all the other 10K golfers, because obviously I didn't go over Oberg, Morikawa, Rahm, DeChambeau, or DeChambeau's not a 10K golfer. But if you wanted to do your own research, the tools are there for you. I just wanted to give you the training wheels as to how to use the tools, and also just give you general information. I'm going to go ahead and clear the filters just to give you another zoomed out level as to the most common salary builds at the Masters for the GPP winning, the optimal, and the sweet spot optimal. 10-9-8, 7-7-6 is the most common by far. It's more than double second place. It's almost triple of what second place, the second most common salary build, which is a 10-9-8, 7-6-6, followed by a 10-8-8, 7-6-6. And again, you can see it all on the screen right now. I'm very comfortable starting my lineups with a 10K golfer. Very comfortable. And if you needed further proof, there's only one optimal lineup that didn't start with the 10K golfer. Which one was this? The 2017 Masters. 48,300 is what was used for the overall salary. I don't ever suggest that to leave that much money on the table. But who was that? Such short-term, like terrible short-term memory. It's the optimal lineup for 2017. Okay. Optimal lineup 2017. The most expensive golfer was Justin Rose at $9,200, and that's when Sergio won at $8,300. So that's the only time a 10K golfer was not in the optimal lineup. If you build lineups on DraftKings, FanDuel, or any other platform that requires you to put 6 golfers into a lineup and keep it under a salary cap, you already know you cannot put all the best plays into your lineups. It'd be impossible. Your lineups would be too expensive and they would exceed the salary cap. Therefore, you have to get creative with lineup building. Sometimes you go stars and scrubs, which means grabbing two expensive golfers with 4 cheaper golfers. Sometimes it just goes balanced and you're grabbing everybody in that mid-tier price point. On DraftKings, that'd be your 8K range. And sometimes it's a more traditional, or it's a combination of the two, I should say, where you're grabbing an expensive guy, a low price guy, and a few in the middle tiers. Well, how do you go about doing that? Are you even sure which golfers you should play? Because the low priced golfers are typically the worst golfers in the field. How do you identify which golfer you should choose? And also, how do you figure out how many high priced golfers to put in your lineup? Is this a week to do all stars and scrubs, or is this a week to go balanced? You just don't know. The bucket system helps us identify which golfers to put into our lineups. It actually projects how many golfers of a particular stat profile we want to put into our lineups. Now, I'm not going to explain everything about the bucket system. If you want to learn more about it, go to SweetSpotDFS.com, find the Fantasy Tools dropdown, and find articles. When you're there, you're going to see 2 articles that I've created. One's called the bucket system. The other one is the combo buckets, which aren't on the website anymore. So you can ignore this one, but check out the bucket system. That'll bring you to this page. And if you're someone who likes to read about how things are done, you can find it here. Now, I also have a video if you are interested in watching that. There will be a link for that video down in the description below. And those are your 2 places you can learn about it. But I don't want to spend a ton of time talking about what the bucket system is. Just know that it helps us limit certain plays, and it helps us try to, or it really expands our mind to play other plays. Because in a DFS contest, you're going to have to get a little creative. And this is one way to do it. Okay. Let's just go right into the bucket system. And if you didn't already know, there is a cheat sheet that you can follow. Again, you can go to SweetSpotDFS.com. Under Fantasy Tools, there's a cheat sheet. You'll go to this page here, scroll down and click here. That brings you to this cheat sheet that you see on the screen. I have a Masters tab with a bucket system tab. Go to the bucket system tab and you can use the filters there. So as I'm going throughout this video, you can follow along with me. And the very first thing, I think I'm going to go bucket by bucket, and we're going to touch up on some of the golfers. Not all the buckets will we go through, and not all the golfers will we talk about. But I'm here to kind of give you a support or a lens on how to use the bucket system to build better lineups for your contest this week. So let's just take a look at last year, the last year bucket. This is broken up into 6 different buckets, and it goes by every 20th place finish. So 1st to 20 is last year 1. 21 to 40 is last year 2. 41 to 60 is last year 3. 61 to 80 is last year 4, so on and so forth. You can see what the ranges are here. Last year 5s are missed cuts and withdraws, just so you know what entails in there. But let's look at that first bucket. Last year 1. I have 2 projection columns. One is the max projection, one's the min projection. We always round down here and we always round up here. We always round down with the minimum, we always round up at the maximum. So this bucket would read 2 to 4 because 2.07 rounds down to 2, 3.46 rounds up to 4. So 2 to 4 would be the projection of how many golfers we anticipate to finish inside the top 10 from this bucket. And again, last year 1 means they top 20'd the Masters last year. Now, just to add one more piece to this before we get further along in this video, if you see a projection like this, 0.46 to 0.76, as long as there are 2 or more golfers in that bucket, which you can see right here, this automatically becomes 0 to 2. And the reason for that being is I want a 2-point buffer, between the minimum and the maximum at all times. And if at all possible, you always go down with the minimum first before you go up with the maximum. But if the minimum can't go lower than 0, then obviously the max has to go up by 1. You can see that scenario I just kind of mentioned right here, where in the last year's 6 bucket, we have a 1 to 2 projection, but I want a 2-point buffer, and I always want to go down with the minimum first to create that 2-point buffer. So this would become a 0 to 2 bucket. Just so you are all aware, that's how you read the bucket system. For every single year or every single week that I do the bucket system for whatever event that I'm talking about. So last year ones, golfers who top 20 here last year. We take a look at those golfers. This is where you can follow along with me at SweetSpot or on the cheat sheet. Put a filter on the Masters tab and filter out by last year ones. And all the golfers here, top 20 last year, and I can verify that with my course fit section right here. These are all the golfers who top 20'd at the Masters last year. And the projection, if you remember, if I go back to the bucket system, it says 2 to 4. We want to play 2 to 4 of these guys. Now the projection says 2 to 4. There is a possibility that we could get 5 or 6 golfers from this bucket to be inside the top 10. And also for that bucket to succeed with its projection. The reason being is I'm trying to target the optimal lineup, and I'm trying to help you guys target the optimal lineup as well. Well, if, let's just do a hypothetical here, the 3 golfers at the top of the salary, with the highest salaries in this bucket, Scheffler, Oberg, and Morikawa finished inside the top 10, followed by, say, Tommy Fleetwood, Will Zalatoris, and Sepp Straka. Let's say those 6 golfers finish inside the top 10. It is possible, if these top priced guys don't finish better than 5th place, that definitely Scotty would not be in the optimal lineup, and so too Oberg most likely not be in the optimal. There's also the likelihood Morikawa wouldn't be in the optimal lineup, and it would just be Fleetwood, Zalatoris, and Straka. If those 3 finish in the optimal lineup, but 6 finish inside the top 10, this projection is still correct. Because again, I shouldn't even say again, the whole thing I've ever said on this channel, targeting the optimal lineup or trying to build the optimal lineup, if you hit the optimal, there's no other lineup that beats it. Now, I'm also a realist. Some optimal lineups leave thousands of dollars on the table. I'm not trying to target those lineups. I'm trying to target a more reasonable and sensible lineup. A lineup that uses $49,600 of the salary and above and is the perfect lineup with those criteria in place. So again, a scenario of these 6 golfers finishing inside the top 10 and only 4 or maybe 3 of them being the optimal lineup still satisfies this projection. Just throwing that out there. So keep that in mind when you are lineup building or considering picking golfers out of these buckets to anchor your lineups around. So there we have for our last year ones. I'm not, like I said, I'm not talking about each one of these golfers. I kind of did that on the first look video that I posted earlier on in the week. 1 to 3 last year 2s. So let's take a look at last year 2s. These again, golfers in that 20 to 40 range. Rory is there. And he's obviously the highest priced golfer out of all of them by, at least $1,600. And then it drops down into these guys. It really depends on your mindset. Not so much your mindset. Who do you want to anchor your lineup around? We just were looking at the last year 1 buckets. You had 3 guys in the 10K range. Did you like any of them? If you did, you probably can't play Rory. If you didn't, so be it. Because you could play Rory in this lineup, or you could play Rory from this bucket is what I meant to say. With 3 of the guys that I kind of mentioned outside the 10K range in the previous bucket. So again, it's strategy. You still have to pick your golfers. I'm just giving you the guidelines as to how many you should pick from each of these buckets and how many you shouldn't, pretty much. Well, not so much how you shouldn't. It's just the projection. I'm giving you a number. 1 to 3, 2 to 4, something like that of the buckets. And obviously this is a 1 to 3. So find 1 to 3 golfers to build your lineups around. If you like more than 4, just understand the likelihood of your lineup succeeding in your DFS contest is probably going to be less. Because if you didn't know, I have analyzed these stats, analyzed these profiles dating back to 2013. And more often than not, they succeed. I mean, my bucket system succeeds at a 93% success rate, meaning the projections that I provide are true. They occur every single week. So, believe me or don't, you're watching this video, I imagine you're either interested or you follow along with me. And I showcase, I review each one of my events. I review each tournament and show you how the bucket system did for each of those tournaments. And I will review the Valero Texas Open either during my Tuesday live stream or during one of my Monday videos that I'm going to post out there for you guys. So either, again, follow along with or not. It's up to you. Again, I imagine you're listening to this, you're interested in following along. So 1 to 3, that makes things interesting for this bucket. Rory's in it, Minwoo's in it, Henley's in it, Batia's in it, and Connors is in it. Those are golfers that a lot of people are going to want to play this week. A lot of people are probably not going to jump to Matsuyama because he's had some pretty poor performances lately. Some people are not going to go to Joaquin Niemann because they probably forgot he even exists being on the Live Tour. Cantlay is kind of, I don't know. It's an interesting one there. I don't know how many people are going to want to play Cantlay this week. But then you also have like Fitzpatrick and Tom Kim. Matt Fitzpatrick and Tom Kim, who I bet nobody wants to play. Here's your chance. This might be a good enough reason to play those two guys because they are in this bucket with some, you know, some more popular names like Russell Henley and Batia. If maybe you wanted to pivot from those golfers instead of trying to find another golfer around their price tag, pivot from like a Russell Henley to Tom Kim. Are they the same type of golfer right now? Absolutely not. I don't think that's a fair trade. But if you are a game theory person where you're trying to pivot because of ownership, I think that's a pretty, it's a bold strategy. It's a bold decision that you might just get rewarded for. So that's, again, why I like the bucket system. It limits bad plays. And obviously, I think it would be bad to play more than 3 golfers from this bucket. And so does the bucket system. So that was your last year 2 bucket, your last year 3. I guess I'm not going to talk about any of these buckets. Again, you can do the research through the cheat sheet, which is available to you for free. You do not need an account anywhere. You don't need to pay for anything. You can go to the cheat sheet and take a look. Again, following the same things that I'm showing you guys on the screen. So that's available to you. That was the last year buckets. Let's talk about the last week buckets. This one is interesting because it's going to include live golfers in a bucket that they may not, or they probably shouldn't be. So let's discuss that first before we dive into the rest of these buckets. All of the live golfers that you're going to see on the cheat sheet are in this last week 6 bucket, which means they did not play last week. But if you follow the live tour, you know they did play last week. I just don't include any of the live stuff in my stat analysis. It's hard to determine if anything matters. But I did find an interesting nugget. So this is going to be like a mini, or it's going to be like a sub bucket system attached to this bucket system. I didn't create anything for it, but we're going to talk about it. If we go to the live tour, Live Miami was the same week the Valero Texas Open was played. And both of those events were the week before the Masters played. I always look at events right before the current event that I'm looking at. So obviously we're looking at the Masters. I want to look at the Valero Texas Open. I want to look at Live Miami. Mark Leishman won. He is not in the field for the Masters. Charles Schwartzel is. Actually, let me do this differently. I'm not going to talk about the golfers from this week's field yet. Let's talk about the golfers from 2024. And I guess let's go back to my Masters spreadsheet. When I go to 2024, I want to highlight all of the live golfers that played last year inside the top 10. We had Bryson, who finished 6th, Cameron Smith, who finished 6th, We also had Patrick Reed, who finished 12th, and Tyrrell Hatton that finished 9th. So we had 4 golfers from LIV in 2024 that finished 12th or better. In 2023, we had Brooks Koepka, Phil Mickelson, Patrick Reed, and it looks like just those 3 golfers, but they finished 5th place or better. And then in 2022, there wasn't the LIV Tour actually started up after Augusta, after the Masters. So really, we just have 2023 and 2024 to look at, but still LIV representing pretty strong in the Masters. And one thing to kind of note, Patrick Reed is in both of those years. And the other golfers have just shown up. They've proven to be good at Augusta in the past. Brooks Koepka being one of them, Phil being a past champion, and then in 2024, Cam Smith has had decent results at the Masters. And Tyrrell Hatton, despite not having really good results at the Masters, everyone thinks he's a good fit for Augusta. So let's take a look at the weeks that led into each one of these Masters. So in 2024, they played LIV Miami as well. And just remember, we're looking for Bryson, Cam Smith, Tyrrell Hatton, and Patrick Reed. So as we scroll through this, we see Tyrrell Hatton, who finished 4th. This was the week before. This was the event on LIV the week before the Masters. Tyrrell Hatton finished 4th. Bryson finished 7th. Patrick Reed finished 9th. Those 3 golfers were inside the top 10 of the LIV event leading into the Masters, and they finished inside the top 12 of the Masters tournament. I think I'm missing one, right? Cam Smith? Was Cam Smith up here at all? Cameron Smith was not. Thought when I looked at this earlier, I saw his name, but I guess not. So it was just those 3 golfers that finished inside the top 10 of the LIV event that also finished inside the top 12. Now, if we went to 2023, the event right before this, or right before the Masters, was LIV Orlando. And Brooks Koepka won that event. Patrick Reed was 4th. And it was just those 2 golfers. Like, I think Phil Mickelson finished 41st place, if I remember correctly. So if I go to 2023, this is your 2023 leaderboard. Brooks Koepka was at $7,600, Phil at $64, and Patrick Reed at $73. Those were your 3 LIV golfers, and they were also in the optimal lineup together. I guess that's worth noting. In 2024, only Bryson from the LIV Tour was in the optimal lineup, despite the other 3 golfers, besides Bryson on LIV, finishing well at the Masters. So just want to throw that out there. Those are all, there are always things to look into or to consider when building your lineups. But how I feel about LIV, it does appear that a little bit of recent form matters heading into the Masters, and the event prior to the Masters kind of can lend a little assistance as to which golfers we should play. So golfers in the field this week that finished inside the top 10 at LIV: Charles Schwartzel, Sergio Garcia, Bryson DeChambeau, Phil Mickelson, Patrick Reed, Cam Smith, and Jon Rahm. That's way more than the previous years. So if I were to say, you could probably look forward to maybe at least 2. I think if I were to create a little mini bucket system for this, I think of the LIV golfers that I just mentioned, I think you could go anywhere between 1 to 3. 1 to 3 comfortably. You could make the argument that 2 to 4 could be in the mix, but as long as I've done the bucket system, I think 1 to 3 is who you'd want from the LIV Tour on your team. So if we go back to the cheat sheet, basically all you need to do is in last week, put in last week 6. And I should say this. Let's go back to the bucket system. I'm sorry. That projection shows 4 to 7 to finish inside the top 10. Obviously, we can only put 6 golfers in our lineup. And I always, if there's a maximum of 6, I make the minimum 3. So I want a minimum of 3 to 6 golfers from this last week's 6 bucket in my lineup. And that includes all of the golfers from LIV. Just to throw that out there, I know they played last week, but my buckets only consist of PGA Tour players for last week. So anything recent form, anything from last week only includes PGA Tour golfers. So anybody that's on LIV, I really don't care, to put into those buckets. It's also, again, it's challenging when there's only 50 some golfers that play in the event, and it's only a 3-day event. It's difficult to determine what that even means. So I just exclude that, and I include them all in the bucket 6 as if they did not play, because they did not play on the PGA Tour last week. So it's complicating, but I just want to be transparent with you guys, let you know that they're in this bucket, and you could grab all 6 golfers. If you wanted to put LIV golfers in your lineups and include some of the PGA Tour guys that did not play last week, you can do that up to 6, just so you know. 6 is the max, and you could grab every golfer from this bucket and put it into a lineup. So again, I'm not going through all the golfers, but you have Scotty and Rory in this bucket as well. Maybe you like Colin Morikawa this week, maybe you don't, but you also have Jon Rahm and Bryson from LIV. There's Xander and JT wedged in between Rahm and Brooks and Joaquin Niemann. So Niemann was not one of those guys that finished inside the top 10 at LIV Miami the week or last week. So probably don't consider him. You could. Let's just be real. You can. Every golfer here is live to win the event, so why not? I'm just kind of trying to point some of the LIV golfers, again, that finished inside the top 10 of LIV Miami last week. Charles, Sergio, Bryson, Phil, Patrick Reed, Cam Smith, and Jon Rahm. And it's really up to you guys. What is your choice? You really have to figure out who you like more of the PGA Tour guys, the LIV guys, because price tags matter, obviously. 10,400, 9,900, those are pretty expensive price tags. Can't really pair them up with Scotty, Rory, or Morikawa. I suppose maybe you could with Morikawa, but Rory Rahm lineups or Rory DeChambeau lineups would be pretty challenging, in my opinion. So, interesting there. We can talk about the other buckets briefly. None of these require at least one that played in Valero. But the most notable one are golfers who top 20'd at the Valero Texas Open. That projection says 0 to 20. We have 8 golfers in that bucket. There are 8.08 on average. And again, if you follow me on the cheat sheet, you just remove the filter and just put a 1. And we have 8 golfers led by Jordan Spieth, Corey Connors, McNeely, Young, Harmon, McCarthy, Hoagie, Zach, Johnson. 0 to 2 is the projection from this bucket. Don't play more than 2 of these guys, regardless of their good finish last week. Max it out at 2 and consider 0. So I like Jordan heading into this event. Jordan loves Augusta. He did miss the cut last year. I don't expect him to miss the cut this year, and he did have a 12th place finish at Valero, which is, I like that. I like seeing that from Jordan Spieth. Connors is always a solid play at Augusta. He's played here pretty well in the past. I expect he's, going to get his top 40. McNeely has never played here. Maybe that's a good reason not to play him. And we'll talk about that when it comes to the course history 6 buckets, which means you've never played Augusta. Cam Young is very interesting. I don't know if I can go there, but it's how you can get different with your lineup builds. Seriously, it's how you can get different. He is one of very few. Actually, he's the only guy, I'm sorry. He's the only guy that top 20'd last year and top 20'd last week. Again, PGA Tour events, not LIV events. So Super interesting. Super interesting there. Harman just won the Valero Texas Open. Just won it. That'll be an interesting dive. We can talk more about that during the Tuesday live video that I'll be doing, or live stream that I'll be doing at 7 p.m. And then, I don't know. I do like Hoagie. He is going to be an interesting play. Don't really care for Zach Johnson. And Denny McCarthy, I don't know, man. It's difficult to go there with Denny when it comes to the Masters. I just don't think it's a good fit, but who knows? Maybe things change this year. Okay. So that was kind of your last week bucket analysis. I'm not going through all the buckets. I'm going to let you guys do the research on your own. Course history threes. Now this is interesting. It has well been known that golfers with good course history at the Masters, it's like one of the stickiest stats for when it comes to course history for any event is the Masters. A lot of that has to do with the limited field size and just the same guys showing up over and over and over again. There are a few that tend to always play well at Augusta. So 0 to 2 is the projection for the best course history in the field. We can take a look at that and I can explain more as we go through. Course history 1. Scotty Scheffler, Oberg, Morikawa, Rahm, Zalatoris, Bobby Mack, Højgaard, Pavon, and Adam Schenk. If the course history in these two columns matches the last year, you can bet they've only played this event one time before. So Højgaard, Matthew Pavon, Adam Schenk, and Ludwig Oberg. They've only played the Masters once, and that is their course history. So I would say, with that being said, it might be easy to fade those golfers. You know, a lot of data analysts or just people who have seen others, you know, people that pay attention to sports, everything regresses to the mean. That's pretty remarkable for some of those guys to have that good of a finish their first time playing. If you look at Scotty Scheffler, his course history is 9.8. He's been the best golfer in the world over the last couple of years. 9.8 includes 2 Masters victories. He has an average finishing position of 9.8. I only mention that because what I just talked about with the first timers that had their good finishes, like Ludwig Oberg, expect Ludwig to falter. It might not be this year. I imagine it will be because he hasn't really been coming in with good form despite a major victory, or not a major victory, a win earlier in the year. I don't expect Oberg to play well at the Masters this year. Could be wrong though, honestly. The other 3 guys down there, Højgaard, Pavon, and Schenk. Yeah, I'd cross them off. I got no issue crossing them off either. So we're really looking at the other golfers like McIntyre, Zalatoris, Jon Rahm, Morikawa, and Scheffler. Those are guys that are, I think, definitely worth playing. Jon Rahm being the most, I wouldn't say dangerous, but I want to say dangerous golfer of this bucket because of his last year finish. He's the only guy that did not finish inside the top 20 last year that had this good of course history. So if everything regresses to the mean, we're due for a top 10 finish from Jon Rahm. So I think it's worth it. And we just saw he finished top 10 at the Live event. We were just talking about the last week buckets. So the Live event last week, Live Miami, he did finish 9th. That's still a good trend to have him finish well at this event from Live, of course. So throwing that out there. Course history 2, projection is 2 to 5. Again, go into the Masters spreadsheet and just change that. Course history 1 to a 2. And we have all of our golfers with the second best course history in the field. And it's led by Rory. Then it goes Xander, JT, a lot of good 9K golfers, and some good 8K golfers. The projection here is 2 to 5. So you could literally build a lineup of 5 golfers from here and feel pretty good about yourself. We'll see when I start building lineups Tuesday night using my optimizer or the SweetSpotDFS optimizer. We'll see how many golfers we get from this bucket. I bet you we get a ton. I bet you the optimizer loves a lot of golfers from this, and it's probably not going to be Koepka or Neiman, but we can change that. We can manipulate the optimizer to look at more Koepka and Neiman lineups. But for the rest of these guys, check out the cheat sheet and pick some of the golfers that you like and build your lineups around them comfortably. I think it's a good bucket to choose from. The next bucket is a 1 to 2. Obviously, we want that to be 0 to 2, but I'm actually making the argument this bucket is 0 to 3. When it's 1.99, that's so close to being 2 or greater that I would just be comfortable making this a 0 to 3. And that might be cheating to some of you guys, but I think it's the best way to do it, because that just shows there's a bit more uncertainty with the projection, or not so much uncertainty. It's just there's enough quality of golfer in this bucket to potentially have 3 golfers finish inside the top 10 from the bucket, but it's also very volatile where 0 golfers from this bucket could finish inside the top 10. And when you look at it, there are only 4 golfers 8K and above. Everybody else is 7K and below. And it's like low 7K to min 6K. So of the 4 golfers 8K and above, do we really feel that comfortable that they're going to finish inside the top 10? I'm not. It does kind of give a little credence to picking one of these guys. And if you were to tell me I needed to choose a live golfer from this bucket, I'm going to choose DeChambeau over Hatton. So maybe this is your reason to play Bryson this week. Maybe you don't need a reason to play Bryson, but maybe this just solidifies it. That could be it. Or maybe you just skip the 2 live golfers and go with Lowry, Shane Lowry. Anyways, that was your course history 3 bucket, and I'm not going to talk about the other course history buckets. I'll leave it up to you guys to research all of that. Recent form 1s is a 1 to 3 bucket. And these are going to be the golfers with the best recent form coming into the Masters. Notably, all your live golfers are in the recent form 6 bucket because I don't keep track of live stats. They're all down here, and that projection is 0 to 2. Let's talk about that one first. I know I was talking about recent form 1s, but let's talk about recent form 6s. Like I said, this includes all of your live golfers. And then there are going to be some of the old timers and rookies down here. I'm not going to play, Evan Beck, Hiroshi Tai. I won't be playing any of those golfers. That's fine. The old timers, VJ, Longer, Fred Couples, Olazabal, Weir, and Angel Cabrera. I know Angel just won on the Champions Tour, but I'm not playing any of these old timers. They don't have the endurance to play all 72 holes at Augusta at a high level, not when it's compared to the other golfers that are in the field. So I'm just going to ignore them. I don't care. The other golfers are your live golfers. Jon Rahm, DeChambeau, Koepka, Neiman, Hatton, Smith, Johnson, Reed, Garcia, Mickelson, Schwartzel, and Bubba Watson. I would make this bucket a 0 to 3 bucket because, like I said, when we reviewed or when we looked at the last week 6 bucket and did the mini bucket for the live golfers, every single year at the Masters, we have seen 3 to 4 golfers inside the top 12, and each one of those golfers had a top 10 finish at the live event the week before the event, before the tournament. And what we noticed this year, the Live Miami event, the top 10 was not in this particular order, but Jon Rahm, Bryson DeChambeau, Cam Smith, Patrick Reed, Sergio Garcia, Charles Schwartzel. Just to show you guys what that looked like again, there's Schwartzel, Garcia, DeChambeau, Phil, I forgot to mention him, Phil's there, Patrick Reed, Cam Smith, and Jon Rahm, all inside the top 10 of the Live Miami leaderboard. So let me go ahead and highlight Phil. That's 7 golfers. I think 3 of these guys would be playable. I think you could play up to 3 of these guys, no problem. Now, it really comes down to price tags too, right? You can't put a lot of the expensive guys like Rahm and DeChambeau in lineups with other 10K golfers like the names of Scotty or Rory. So you really have to figure out which ones you like the most. I'm already going to cross out Schwartzel. I'm actually going to cross out Phil as well. Sergio's definitely a consideration because he has been playing such good golf on LIV. I'm just not sold completely. And Patrick Reed just, I mean, if there was a golf course on the PGA Tour that they visit every single year that I think he fits the best, it would be Augusta. And obviously he's on the LIV Tour, so that doesn't really matter what I just said. But I mean, this course and Patrick Reed kind of, I don't say they go hand in hand, but it's a good fit. Same kind of applies with Cameron Smith. He's played well here so frequently over the last few years, especially even after going to LIV. That's hard not to consider Cameron Smith, even regardless of how poorly he's been playing on LIV. DeChambeau and Rahm, I mean, you choose your poison there. DeChambeau in my model is pretty good, and I think that's because of his success at the U.S. Open last year. Obviously, he won, and the other major championships. So I'm gonna probably fudge those numbers a little bit for the LIV golfers just to give them a little bit of a boost. But yeah, these 7 golfers, I think if you wanted to play up to 3 of them, you get the green light for me, which I don't know if that means anything to you, but it looks good. It looks good. All right, let's move on. Let's go back to the recent Form 1 golfers where our projection is 1 to 3. These are the golfers with the best recent form on the PGA Tour heading into the Masters, somewhere between that 0 to 20 average finishing position within the last 7 weeks. That's how my recent form buckets are created. Within the last 7 weeks, that's 2 months of time. That matters more to me than the rounds of golf played. So you have 10 golfers, including Jose Luis Ballester. That's a 17th place finish that he has at the Mexico Open that's making him in this bucket, or that puts him in this bucket. I'm not treating him anything like the other golfers that are here. But it is worth noting again, this is a 1 to 3 bucket. Can there be more than 3 golfers from this bucket inside the top 10? Yes, there can be. Or I should say, let me rephrase that. Can there be more than 3 golfers in this bucket and also having the bucket be successful, as in the projections were correct? Yes. And I'll explain again why. I did this in a previous bucket. But if you had Rory and Scheffler finish worse than 5th place, but still inside the top 10, and you had someone like Henley, McIntyre, and Sepp Straka finish inside the top 10 as well, but maybe those 3 golfers were in the optimal lineup, I would exclude these guys because they were not in the optimal lineup and only look at these 3. That would satisfy the projection. Now, why I do that is because if you want to win $1 million this week, DraftKings is offering $1 million for their top contest. You want to win $1 million, you got to get really close to the optimal lineup. You have to get really close to the optimal. So that means you're going to have to create, obviously, the best lineup you possibly can. I don't chase optimal lineups completely. I chase optimal lineups that use $49,600 and above for the salary used. That's the optimal lineup I'm looking for. I call that the sweet spot optimal. So if that's the case, and it's Henley, McIntyre, and Straka at their price points, yeah, I would consider that a success for that bucket. So just be aware of that. The other bucket to look at the other 2 buckets to look at are recent form 2s and recent form 3s. These are golfers coming in with good recent form to like middle recent form. We'll start with recent form bucket 2, JT, Fleetwood, Spieth. I think just out of those 3 golfers, one of them finishes inside the top 10. I'm really high on Justin Thomas, but Jordan Spieth finishing inside the top 20 at the Valero Texas Open, sign me up. Another golfer I really like, Patrick Cantlay, $8,700. I'm not talking about the rest of these guys, but there are quality golfers in here, including some guys here in the 6K range. Just a reminder, the bucket projection is 1 to 4. I guess I didn't say that earlier, but it's a 1 to 4 bucket projection. So you can play up to 4 if the price allows it, allows you to be able to. If just by me saying 1 to 4, also by the way, doesn't mean try to find golfers in the 6K range. It also doesn't mean I'm not telling you to find golfers in the 6K range. It's just like I've said it before. If you have like the top 4 golfers finish inside the top 10 from this bucket, like salary wise, the top salaried golfers here, you can only play 3 of them at most. And really, to be optimal, you could only play 2 of them, more than likely. So just keep that in mind. But again, the maximum is 4, so don't build a lineup of 6 golfers from this bucket. That's kind of the beauty of the bucket system. It also limits you on what to do. Kind of steers you into some of the buckets, but it's like, don't play more than X amount of them. Next one's recent form 3s, and we want 1 to 3 here. And you get Xander in this bucket, Hovland, and Batia. They're the only 3 golfers $8,000 and above. You get a good chunk of 7K golfers. You get 7 of them, and then everybody else lives in the 6K range. So again, if you want to anchor around one of these guys, I guess I don't have an issue with it. But when you get into the 7K and below range, that's when it gets a little too volatile to actually anchor any of your lineups around any of those golfers. So be on the lookout for that. The next bucket to talk about would be the salary buckets. I'm not going through golfer by golfer here. I brush up a lot on the salaries with the pass optimal and GPP winning lineup segments that I do. I created a separate video for that, so go check it out on the channel. And I also talked about salaries when it came to the first look video that I did on Thursday. So again, that's also on the channel. Go take a look for those videos there. Now for 10K golfers, I have a projection 0 to 2. Every single year we see at least 1. We have 5 in the field this week, and we normally see about 5. Now it's also worth noting that the optimal lineup has had an instance where there were 0 golfers in it from the 10K range, but the frequency rate is 87.5. I don't know exactly what number that is. I imagine it's 6 out of 7 years, or maybe it's 7 out of 8 years. It's something like that. So basically 1 year did not happen. The rest of the years that I have salaries and have recorded optimal lineups, it has had a 10K golfer and above. So I include everyone in the 10K range, 10,000 and above. So should you play a 10K golfer this week or not? I think you do. I think it's just easier to start lineup builds that way, but they're also your best golfers in the field. So I got no issue playing a 10K golfer. What's really interesting about this year, the projection for 9K golfers is 1 to 3. And you see that every single year, or you see at least 1 every single year finishing inside the top 10. It's also worth noting you never see more than 1 in the optimal lineup. That's really worth noting, because when I first looked at this bucket, I was like, man, 3 9Ks? This is a year to do 3 9Ks? Well, you haven't seen you haven't seen more than 1 in an optimal lineup dating back to 2015. So there's that. 8K golfers, the projection's 0 to 2. 75% of the time, we've seen at least 1 in the optimal lineup, and we've never seen more than 2. So peppering the 8K range might not be worth it. 7K range is 1 to 3. We have seen 1 inside the top 10 every single year, and we've also seen 1 in the optimal lineup every single year. So we only have 20 in the field this year, where we normally see about 24. So that might be worth keep that into consideration. It might be the first year we see 0. Could be. The 6K range is not really worth talking about, other than trying to limit your guys' exposure to the 6K range. Never fall in love with a 6K golfer, but also never disrespect one. I have two 6K ranges. One's a high 6K range, one's a low 6K range. If you're looking to play golfers 6,400 and below, just know the success rate is 1.62%, which means of all golfers from this bucket, only about 2% of them have finished inside the top 10 of all years dating back to 2015. So digging at the bottom of the barrel is usually not the best place to find golfers in your lineup. If you want a 6K golfer, live in that $6,500 and above range and don't play more than two, it looks like. So those are your salaries. And then strokes gain. I explained this in the bucket system article I wrote on SweetSpotDFS.com. Go check it out if you're confused of what the strokes gain stats are. The easiest way to do this on the spreadsheet, if you go to the cheat sheet and take a look, just make sure all filters are cleared and you sort from Z to A on salaries and then sort A to Z on strokes gained. This will order it by strokes gained stats. You can do this also with any of the other buckets. I just find it easier for strokes gained to do it this way. It's color coded. It just looks cleaner. For this first bucket, strokes gained 1, we want 2 to 4 golfers to build around our lineups. It's worth noting that at least 3 golfers every single year have finished inside the top 10. And every single year we've had 1 that are in the optimal lineup. We've never seen more than 3 though. So we have 19 golfers from that or in that bucket this year, where we normally see about 17. And I mean, it's good company. Scheffler, Morikawa, McIlroy, DeChambeau, Schauffele, Matsuyama, Brooks Koepka, Fleetwood, Cantlay, Henley, and Robert Mack. All golfers 8K and above. To find 3 golfers there, I think it's pretty easy. Again, that projection is 2 to 4. If you were to start your lineups with Scotty, there is a conversation, a discussion to be made to fade everybody else from this bucket, despite the projection being 2 to 4. Because that price tag might be too expensive, and it really relies on a lot of these golfers that are 8K and below to also finish inside the top 10, which is very unlikely considering the golfers above being of a higher pedigree and just a higher caliber of golfer. It is worth noting, I really like Patrick Cantlay this week, and then there's Russell Henley and Bobby Mack that a lot of people are going to be very interested in playing. They will be popular. Henley and McIntyre will be popular. I'm not sure about Cantlay, but it seems like a good price for, or I mean, it makes lineup building easy with Cantlay, especially going Scotty, Cantlay. I think those lineups are easy to build. And I know from the pass optimal lineup video, if you start 12,000 and above, a lot of times it's with 2 8K golfers. So it is easy to go from Scotty to Cantlay or Scotty to Russell and then include Bobby Mack or, you know, any kind of mix there to build lineups. And I think that's very viable this week. I don't know if I really want to talk about the other buckets, like the other buckets within this stat category. I'm going to leave it up to you guys to do the research. We can just scroll through really quick. Oberg leads the strokes gain 2 bucket, and here are your other golfers there. Strokes gain 3 is led by John Rahm with some of these other golfers here. I think, you know, I shouldn't even say I think. Use your judgment. Remember that the bucket system is there to help you. It's to help guide you to playing certain golfers from these buckets and also prevent you from playing too many golfers from each of those buckets. But that's all that I have for you. Thank you all for watching. See me here Tuesday live stream and then Wednesday for a live stream as well. Okay, bye.